Gemini. There is someone you have never met who knows your name. Not the name written on your documents, not the name people call you across a crowded room, but the truer one, the one stitched into the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. And right now, in a room you will never see, behind a desk you will never sit at, that person is holding a folder with your life inside it, and they are turning the pages slowly, and they are not looking for reasons to walk away. They are looking for reasons to stay. Let me tell you what I feel, because it arrived the moment I settled into this stillness, and it has not softened since. There is a figure of immense means. Think of the quietest kind of wealth, the sort that does not announce itself, the sort that owns things it never talks about, and this figure has become interested in you. Not in a fleeting way, in a deliberate, patient, methodical way. Someone with the resources to know things has decided to know you. And the strangest part, the part that made me pause, is that the investigation is not a threat. It is a courtship of protection. This presence is looking into your past not to expose you, but to make absolutely certain that you are safe. I know how that lands. To be looked into can feel like being cornered. We have learned to flinch when attention turns toward us, because so often attention has come with a cost. But this is a different creature entirely. Imagine the difference between a stranger studying you to take something and a guardian studying you to give something they cannot give until they understand exactly what you have been through. That is the temperature of what surrounds you now. Warm, careful, almost tender in its thoroughness. There is a reason the very rich move so slowly, and it took me a moment to feel my way into it. The noisy kind of money rushes, it grabs, it flashes, it spends itself before it understands itself. But the deep kind, the kind that has lasted across a lifetime, has learned that anything worth protecting is worth investigating first. It does not gamble on strangers. It studies. It waits. And the slowness that might feel to you like being overlooked is, in this case, the opposite. It is the slowness of someone who has decided you are not a gamble at all, but a certainty they intend to get exactly right. This is the kind of reading that Spiritual Light Tarot exists, to bring you the moment when the unseen machinery of your life turns in your favor and someone finally decides you are worth protecting. So sit with me. Let the folder open. Let us read it together, because you deserve to know what they are finding. The first thing this figure noticed about you was not your struggle. That surprised me. I expected the ledger to begin with hardship, with the long list of things that went wrong. Instead, it begins with a quality and unreasonable, almost stubborn integrity. There is a page devoted entirely to the times you could have taken the easy money and did not. The times you returned what wasn't yours. The times you told the truth when a lie would have paid better. The wealthy, the truly wealthy, do not build their trust on charm. They build it on evidence of character, and your file is thick with it. This is why they are still reading. You passed a test you did not know you were taking, years before this moment, simply by being who you are when it was inconvenient to be so. People of this stature have a word for the history behind a thing, provenance. Before they acquire anything of worth, they trace where it came from, whose hands held it, what it survived to arrive intact. They are doing this with you. They are tracing your provenance, following the line of your life back through every hand that shaped you. And what they are discovering is that you were not cheapened by what you passed through. You were tempered by it. The scratches on you are not damage in their eyes. They are proof of authenticity, the marks that separate the real thing from the imitation. You cannot be faked. And to someone who has been fooled by counterfeits their whole life, that quality is worth more than they can easily say. Then the pages turn to the years you carried what was never yours to carry. There is a record here of debts that belong to other people, the financial weight of family, of situations you inherited rather than created, of promises made by others that landed on your shoulders to keep. And I want you to understand that this figure is not reading those pages with pity. They are reading them with a kind of professional astonishment. Because someone who shoulders another person's burden and does not collapse under it demonstrates a load-bearing strength that money cannot buy and cannot fake. They are noting quietly that you have already proven you can be trusted with more because you never crumbled under less. There is an early page from long before you were the person listening to this now, and I feel them lingering on it. It is the page where you first met lack, where you first understood, as a child understands, that there was not always enough, that wanting had to be rationed, that some doors were labeled not for you. Most people spend their whole lives running from that page, pretending it does not exist. But the figure reading your file treats it with great gentleness because they understand that the earliest wound around money is the one that shaped every choice after it. And they are not there to reopen it. They are there because they have the means to finally close it, to reach the frightened part of you that never stopped bracing, and to tell it at long last that the rationing is over. There is an accounting being done of your generosity. And this is where I feel the energy shift into something almost protective. Every time you gave when you had little, it was recorded. Not the grand gestures, the small ones. The meal you covered when your own account was thin. The help you extended that no one thanked you for. The times you chose someone else's ease over your own comfort. In the ordinary world, these acts vanish, unremembered, unrewarded. But in this folder, they are tallied with precision. And the total is staggering. And the figure holding it has begun to understand something that you may have forgotten. You have been quietly funding other people's lives for years. And it is time the direction of that flow reversed. Alongside the giving, there is a record of your resourcefulness that reads almost like a study in craftsmanship. How you made a small thing last. How you stretched what should not have stretched, fed more mouths than the amount allowed, kept a household or a dream or a body running on far less than it required. To you, this was simply survival, unremarkable, invisible. To someone who commands enormous resources, it is a rare and coveted art because they know that most people who are handed everything waste it. And only those who once had nothing know the true value of what passes through their hands. You are, in their assessment, an extraordinary steward. And stewards, not spenders, are the ones the wise choose to enrich. And here, in the middle of the audit, something is discovered that changes the entire tone of the investigation, an imbalance. A ledger that does not reconcile. The amount you have poured out into the world does not match the amount that has come back to you, and it does not match by a wide and undeniable margin. To a mind trained in the movement of resources, this is not a moral tragedy. It is an error to be corrected, a discrepancy to be settled. The figure leans back, taps the page, and thinks the thought that will alter your life. This account is owed, not as charity, as restitution, as the closing of a gap that never should have opened. There is a particular entry in that imbalance that I feel them stopping on a time when someone took from you, not fairly, not by chance. A moment where money that was yours or was owed to you or was promised to you went into another person's hands and never came back, and you were left to absorb the loss and the insult, both. You may have made your peace with it, or you may still carry the ember of it, but either way, understand this: it was logged. The universe does not lose receipts. And the figure reviewing your life reads that theft not as your failure to protect yourself, but as a debt the world now carries on your behalf, one they have the standing and the means to see repaid through channels you would never have thought to look. Understand what it means to be cleared. In the world this figure moves through, before anything of value changes hands, there is a vetting, a careful confirmation that the recipient is who they appear to be, that the story holds, that the past contains no trapdoor waiting to swallow what is given. Most people never survive this scrutiny because most people's histories are built on sand. Yours is being examined line by line, and it is holding. Every claim you never made turns out to be true. Every hardship you understated turns out to have been worse than you let on. You are being verified, and you are passing, And the significance of that is quiet but enormous. You are being deemed safe to entrust with abundance. I keep returning to the image of a vault because it will not leave me. Somewhere in this vision, there is a space being prepared, a secured, guarded, reserved space, and it has your name on it. Not the name on your papers, the true one. The point of a vault is not that it holds treasure. The point is that it keeps treasure from being lost, from being taken, from slipping away in the night. What is being built for you is not merely wealth. It is wealth that cannot be reached by the people and the patterns that have drained you before. This is the difference between receiving money and receiving security. You are being offered the second one, which is the rarer and the greater gift. There is another concept these people live by, and it is called escrow, the holding of something valuable in trust, set aside, untouchable, until the conditions are right for its release. I feel that something has been sitting in escrow with your name attached to it for longer than you would believe. It was not withheld to torment you. It was held because releasing it before you were ready would have meant losing it. The conditions are what mattered. The readiness of the one receiving, the safety of the moment, the closing of certain doors that had to close first. And what I feel now, unmistakably, is a set of conditions being met, one after another, quietly satisfied, bringing that held thing closer and closer to the moment it is finally cleared for release. Because here's a truth that the ordinary story of money will never tell you. Security is not luck. It is not the roll of dice or the accident of birth. Security is an arrangement. It is deliberate. Someone decides somewhere that a person will be provided for, and then the pieces move to make it so. You have spent so long believing that safety was something you had to seize with your own two exhausted hands, and you never suspected that behind the scenes an arrangement was being drafted with your name at the center of it. The scarcity you knew was never the whole picture. It was only the part of the picture you were allowed to see. There is a difference between a benefactor and a boss, and I want you to feel it clearly. A boss pays you for what you produce and stops the moment you stop. A benefactor invests in who you are and keeps investing precisely when you cannot produce at all. What is turning toward you is the second kind, a backing that does not depend on your output, does not evaporate when you rest, does not measure you by your busiest day. This is unfamiliar to you, I know. You have only ever been paid for your labor. To be provided for on the basis of your existence, your character, your provenance, will feel strange at first, almost suspicious. Let it feel strange, then let it feel true. This is precisely the shift that Spiritual Light Tarot wants to place in your hands today, the understanding that you have not been forgotten by fortune, only kept waiting while your protection was being properly assembled. An assembly takes time. A fortress is not built in a night. The very slowness that felt like abandonment was the sound of foundations being poured. Now the investigation reaches a page that made me go still, because it is the page where they found the moment you almost let go. There was a season, the one when you decided somewhere beneath your words that abundance was simply not written into your story, that safety was for other people, that the door of real financial ease had been shut and bolted and the key thrown into the sea. This figure found that page, and I felt them slow down as they read it, because they recognized that moment. They have seen it in every file worth protecting. The ones who nearly gave up on being provided for are almost always the ones who most deserve to be. Their surrender was never weakness. It was the exhaustion of someone who had been strong for too long with too little help. I feel that this near surrender happened in the dark, most likely at night, in the hours when the arithmetic of survival will not let a tired mind sleep. That is where scarcity does its worst work. Not in the daylight where you are competent and moving, but in the small hours where the numbers circle and the future narrows to a single cold question of whether there will be enough. The figure investigating you has read those nights. And what strikes them is not that you despaired, but that you got up the next morning anyway and did what needed doing. That is the quality they are protecting, not the absence of fear, the refusal to be governed by it. And as they trace backward through your history, a pattern surfaces that you were never positioned to see. The things that fell through, the opportunities that dissolved at the last moment, the money that came close and then evaporated. From where you stood, these looked like failures, like proof that you were somehow marked for lack. But from the height at which this figure reads your life, they resolve into something else entirely, a series of protections. Each near miss removed you from a path that would have cost you more than it gave. You were not being denied, you were being steered. The blessings you were spared from receiving were disguised, and you have been grieving losses that were, in truth, rescues. There was a door closed for you once, and you have never stopped resenting it. A door that led to money, or to a position, or to a stability you were sure you needed. It shut in your face, and you took the shutting personally as a verdict on your worth. Let me offer you what the folder reveals. That door was closed by the same hand now preparing your vault. Not to punish you, to keep you available. Because had you walked through it, you would have been bound to something that would have owned you, and the arrangement being made now, the one that actually protects you, required you to be free. You were not rejected. You were reserved. I want to reframe the whole shape of the scarcity you lived through, because this figure has already reframed it, and their reading is more generous than yours. What you experience as deprivation, they read as training. Every lean season taught you to distinguish need from want. Every empty account taught you the true weight of a single coin. Every time you stretched a little into a lot, you were unknowingly developing the one skill that the wealthy fear most is missing in the people they help, the wisdom to hold resources without being destroyed by them. Sudden fortune ruins people who never learned that lesson. You learned it in the hardest classroom there is, and it means that what is coming will not unmake you. You are ready in a way that ease could never have made you. Think of a long planting season, because that is what your life has been, and it is nearly over. There is a stretch of time in every abundant harvest where nothing above the ground suggests that anything is happening. The labor goes in, the seed goes down, the days pass, and the field looks as bare as it did before. To the impatient eye, it looks like failure. To the farmer, it looks like exactly the middle of the process. Everything you have poured into the ground of your life, the effort, the giving, the enduring, did not vanish. It went down where you could not see it, to do the slow work that precedes every harvest. And what the figure investigating you sees from their vantage is a field about to break the surface all at once. And notice this, because it matters. Provision, when it finally arrives, almost never comes from the direction you are staring at. You have been watching one door, waiting for one source, refreshing one possibility, and meanwhile, the true channel is being opened somewhere off to the side through a hand you have not yet shaken. The figure investigating you does not intend to arrive announced. Their kind rarely does. Help of this magnitude tends to come dressed as coincidence, an introduction that seemed random, a conversation that seemed idle, a small, unexpected kindness that turns out to be the first thread of a rope being lowered to you. Watch the edges of your life. That is where the door is quietly opening. There is a word being spoken about you in rooms you will never enter, and it is not a word of judgment. It is a word of recommendation. This is how real security has always moved, not through applications and pleading, but through someone of standing quietly vouching for someone else, saying in effect, this one is sound. This one can be trusted. Extend to this one what you would not extend to a stranger. You have never had a sponsor like that. Someone whose word opens what your own effort could not. You are getting one now. And the introductions that begin to reach you, the ease that begins to appear where there was resistance, are the downstream effect of your name being spoken well in a room whose door you have never touched. There is a belief buried in you that I need to loosen, because it will get in the way of what wants to reach you. You believe somewhere beneath thought, that you must earn your safety, that provision is a wage you draw only after enough suffering, enough hustle, enough proof. This figure is dismantling that belief in real time, and their reasoning is simple and devastating. You have already earned it. The suffering is already logged. The proof is already filed. There is nothing left to prove, no further toll to pay, no additional exhaustion required. The account has been examined and found not merely worthy, but overdue. Every extra hour you spend trying to deserve what is already yours is an hour spent guarding a door that has already been unlocked. Let me tell you what else the folder contains, because it is not all future. There is an inventory being taken of the wealth you already hold and have never valued. The people who would show up for you if you called. The skill in your hands that others would pay dearly for. The resilience that functions like a savings account no crisis can fully drain. This figure catalogs these first before any transfer is arranged because they know something the anxious mind forgets in the grip of scarcity. You were never as poor as your fear insisted. You have been standing in a partly furnished room in the dark, certain it was empty, and the investigation has turned on the light. There is a forgiveness written into the closing of this account, and it works in both directions. The world is being asked to release to you what it withheld. That is one direction. But the other direction matters just as much, and it concerns a grudge you have carried around, a loss of money or a loss of trust that cost you dearly. As long as your hand is closed around that old debt, clenched tight in resentment, it cannot open to receive what is coming. The figure reading your file sees the grudge and does not judge it. They simply note, with the practicality of the very rich, that a closed hand cannot be filled. And I feel that as the settlement approaches, a door opens in you too, a willingness finally to set that old weight down. Not because the wrong didn't matter, but because you are ready to be free of carrying it. And so a settlement takes shape. Not a windfall in the vulgar sense, not a chaotic flood that arrives and vanishes, but a settlement, a resolution, a squaring of accounts, a restoration of what the years quietly took. Settlements have a particular texture. They feel less like winning and more like justice. Less like a shock and more like an exhale you have been holding for longer than you knew. When it reaches you, and it is reaching you, it will not feel foreign. It will feel like something being returned that was always meant to be yours, arriving at last through the long, patient work of a benefactor who refused to hand it over until they were certain it would land in safe hands, which turned out to be your own. Feel for a moment the weight that is preparing to lift. There is a specific heaviness that comes from carrying your survival alone, the low, constant hum beneath every decision, the arithmetic that never stops running in the back of the mind, the way even rest is taxed by the awareness that no one is coming. That weight is being addressed directly, not ignored, not spiritually bypassed, addressed at its root by the arrival of a genuine backing, the knowledge that there is now someone with the means and the will to see that you do not fall. You may not feel it fully yet, but the machinery has begun to move and the hum is about to change its pitch. Notice where your body has been holding all of this, because it has been holding it somewhere. Scarcity does not live only in the mind. It lives in the shoulders that never fully drop, the jaw that sets itself against the day, the breath that stays shallow so as not to relax into a safety it does not trust. Your body has been standing guard over a threat for so long that it has forgotten there is any other way to stand. And I feel that as this protection settles into place, the body will be the last to believe it, and then one day, suddenly, the first breath that goes all the way down without asking permission, a set of shoulders that finally understand the watch is over. You might be waiting for the catch, because everything generous has always come with one. So let me tell you plainly what this figure asks of you in return, because I have looked for the clause and there is only one, and it is not what you fear. They ask that you receive. That is the entire condition. Not that you repay, not that you grovel, not that you contort yourself into gratitude so heavy it becomes a new debt. Simply that you allow it. The truly wealthy are not impoverished by giving to you. It costs them nothing they will miss. What they want in exchange is the rarest thing, the sight of someone deserving finally, gracefully allowing themselves to be provided for without flinching, without apologizing, without insisting they are fine, which means you are permitted to stop now, to set down the second effort you took on, not from ambition, but from terror, to loosen the grip on the coins you have been clutching as though letting go of one would collapse the whole tower. The overworking, the oversaving out of fear, the reflexive refusal of every small pleasure, these were survival strategies for a version of your life that is ending. You do not have to fight for the shore anymore. The current has turned, and it is carrying you in. Fighting it now only tires you against a tide that has already decided to be kind. There is a role waiting for you on the other side of this, and it is worth naming because it will give the whole arrangement its meaning. You are not being made secure so that you can hoard in a corner and finally be still. You are being made secure so that you can become, in time, what this figure has been to you. A source of steadiness for others. A hand that reaches down the same rope that was lowered to you. The wealthy who understand their power know that provision is meant to move, to pass from steward to steward, and they are choosing you in part because your whole history proves you will not let it stop with you. The security coming towards you is also quietly a commissioning. You are being trusted to become a giver of a larger kind. There is a protection folded inside the gift that you would never have thought to ask for, and it moves me that they thought of it. Knowing your history of giving everything away, of emptying your own pockets to fill someone else's, this figure has built a safeguard against your own generosity into the arrangement itself. What comes to you is being structured so that it cannot be siphoned off by the people who have leaned on you before, so that your open heart cannot be used against you one more time. You will still be free to give, but from overflow now. Not from your foundations. They are not only protecting you from the world, they are gently protecting you from the oldest pattern in your own kind hands. I feel a document being finalized, and I want to describe the moment because it is closer than it seems. There is a page that has been waiting for a signature, the last confirmation, the authorization that turns intention into transfer. For a long time, it sat unsigned. Not out of doubt, but out of care, because everything had to be verified first, every condition met, every risk to you removed. What I feel now is a hand reaching for the pen. The hesitation is over. The verifying is done. And when a decision of this magnitude finally moves from consideration into commitment, the effects begin to reach the ordinary world almost immediately, in ways that will surprise you with their timing. Here is something that may unsettle you before it comforts you. This figure has been near you before, not as a stranger arriving fresh, but as a presence that has already brushed against your life at least once, a kindness from an unexpected source, a help that came at exactly the moment it was needed and then quietly withdrew, a door that someone held open for you without ever explaining why. You may have forgotten it. They have not. The investigation happening now is not a first contact. It is the continuation of a watch that has been kept over you longer than you knew, drawing toward the moment it finally reveals itself in full. And the restoration coming to you is not a flat sum, returned as it was taken. It carries interest, the compounding weight of every year the debt went unpaid, every season you did without while the account sat owing. This is how the wise reckon what is owed. They do not simply return the coin that was lost. They return it grown, because the years of its absence cost you too. So do not brace for something small and grudging. What is being calculated on your behalf accounts for the length of the wait, and the length of the wait has been considerable, and the sum has grown accordingly in the counting. Let me loosen one more thing before the folder closes, because it will free you to receive more fully. You have learned to want quietly, to keep your hopes small so that their loss would hurt less, to be ashamed of wanting security as though the wanting itself were greedy. There is nothing greedy in you. The desire for safety, for enough, for a floor beneath your feet that will not give way is not avarice. It is the most human and honest ask there is. The figure protecting you does not think less of you for wanting to be secure. They think more of you for having wanted it all along and still refuse to grasp at it dishonestly. You are allowed to want this. You are allowed, at last, to want it out loud. I can see, near the end of this, the report being closed. The folder returns to the desk, the pages squared, the examination complete. And across the front, in the language such people use, a single conclusion is written that the subject is sound, the past is clear, and the protection is approved. That is the verdict on you. Not guilty of being a bad investment, not flawed beyond repair, sound, clear, approved for safeguarding. Somewhere the word that means yes has been spoken over your material life, and it cannot be unspoken. And once that yes is spoken, things begin to move that were held still. This is the part that will unfold in the ordinary world, in the texture of your days. A message that changes a number, a door that opens where you had stopped knocking, an offer that arrives with unusual ease, without the customary struggle, as though a hand you cannot see smoothed the path ahead of you. When these arrive, do not shrink. Do not talk yourself out of them with the old story of undeservingness. Recognize them for what they are, the physical residue of a decision already made in your favor, the arrangement finally touching down in the world you can see and touch. And here is how you will know it is truly this, and not a fleeting stroke of chance by the calm of it. Ordinary luck arrives with a frenzy. It spikes the heart and vanishes, and leaves you scrambling to hold what you cannot keep. This will feel different. It will feel steady, almost quiet, like something clicking into a place it was always shaped to fit. The absence of drama is the signature of a real arrangement. When provision comes and instead of panic, you feel a strange and unfamiliar peace, that peace is the receipt. That is how you will know the folder was real and the verdict was yours. And the protection does not stop at the edges of you. This is the part that will reach the deepest because it touches the fear you have never spoken aloud, the worry not for yourself, which you long ago made peace with going without, but for the ones who depend on you, the ones whose security has rested on your tired shoulders. The arrangement being made stretches wide enough to hold them too. The floor being built beneath your feet is broad enough for the people you would have gone hungry to protect. That is the mercy inside this whole thing. You will no longer have to be the entire safety net for everyone you love, because a larger one has been strung beneath you all, and it will hold when your own strength cannot. Before I let you go, let me say the thing that Spiritual Light Tarot most wants you to walk away holding, that you were never truly alone in the long work of keeping yourself safe, and that the loneliness you felt was the silence of a protection being built too carefully to be rushed. What looked like an empty sky was a room full of quiet decisions being made on your behalf. You have been watched over by an intelligence with the means to change your circumstances, and the only thing it was waiting for was the certainty that you would not squander what it gave, a certainty your own life has now supplied in full. So let the folder close. Let the vault stand ready. Let yourself, perhaps for the first time in a very long while, entertain the possibility that safety is not something you have to seize, but something that has been prepared for you patiently, thoroughly, and with a care that borders on devotion. You have been investigated by someone with every reason to protect you, and they have found exactly what they hope to find. You are safe. You have always been the kind of person worth keeping safe. And the part of your life where you had to do it all alone is quietly and completely coming to a close.